Wayne Rooney is back in English football and back in the Championship with Birmingham City. Here is my reaction. It's been a bit of an open secret, hasn't it, that Rooney was going to become the Birmingham City boss. Let's do a quick timeline of what's gone down first, and then we can talk about how this might play out. We shall start in July, when Knighthead Capital completed their takeover at Birmingham. That was followed by what was widely considered a very decent transfer window, and then a strong start on the pitch throughout August. September was poor on the pitch, but Birmingham did go into the international break with back-to-back wins and in 6th place in the Championship. On October the 8th, Wayne Rooney finished up at DC United in MLS by mutual consent. On October the 9th, John Eustace was sacked. On October the 10th, CEO Gary Cook gave his thoughts in a letter to supporters, and now, on October the 11th, Wayne Rooney has been confirmed as the new boss. The statement promises a young, attack-minded team, doubling down on the no fear style comment that was in the Eustace departure wording. What I'm not going to do in this video is talk too much about the decision to sack John Eustace. Firstly, I dealt with that plenty in my video earlier in the week. And secondly, it's done. Whatever your take on the wisdom of the decision, the conversation now moves on to the next manager and what is going to happen down the line. Before we enter that conversation, it's really important to set the tone. Why? Because we're dealing with somebody with a big name and a profile which sends the temperature of a lot of football fans sky high. And over the years, I've found that conversation around Mr. Wayne Rooney can deteriorate into absolute divisive nonsense in double quick time. So let's keep the focus analytical here rather than emotional and address the most important issue, the only important issue maybe. Is Wayne Rooney a good manager, and will he do a good job at Birmingham? The good news is there's plenty of evidence from his time managing in the Championship with Derby County. The bad news is there are a lot of external factors surrounding Rooney's work at Derby that make things a little bit harder to judge. Derby were bottom of the table and in complete chaos when Rooney was given the reins. Owner Mel Morris's constant battling with the EFL was coming to a head. We were mid-pandemic too. Derby did, though, have a brilliant run through January and February and ended Rooney's first season horribly, but survived in an epic final day head-to-head with Sheffield Wednesday. Things got even worse next season between Morris and the EFL, and the Rams received 21 points worth of deductions. They were relegated in 23rd spot, but without the points deductions would have finished comfortably safe in 17th. Look, I'm sure in the discourse about Rooney joining Birmingham, you're going to hear the pretty muggy critique, he took Derby down. And as much as that is an objective fact that Derby were relegated, I would be very suspicious of the motivations of somebody putting that down to Rooney and his management and conveniently ignoring a basket case of an owner club and a 21-point deduction. So, how did Rooney's Derby play? Well, it was a very clear style, it has to be said. It was slow and patient, at its best allowed Derby to control games with possession and did make them pretty hard to score against. They also brought through plenty of young players and developed them, which does seem to be a bit of a buzzword in all of Knighthead's language that we're hearing. I guess if I was going to compare it to any Championship team at the moment, I'd go for Hull City. Obviously, I'm being highly facetious here because that is the other mitigating factor that makes it a bit tricky to judge Rooney, the presence, or not, of Liam Rosenior. Rooney and Rosenior were very much a tag team, a duo at Derby, and you got the idea watching the two of them on the touchline that most in-game decisions were made together. I tend to find the assistant was always the brains of the operation type conversations a little bit of an eye roller, as they do tend to attribute everything that went right to the assistant and everything that went wrong to the manager. In this instance though, and this isn't normally the case, the assistant Rosenior has since gone on, got himself a manager's job and is actually doing pretty well. The truth will out, I guess, on that relationship, and maybe Ashley Cole and John Eustace, who have also been named on the staff, will fill that space if it does indeed need filling. I'll be honest, I know nothing about DC United, but I'd say in very testing circumstances at Derby, Rooney absolutely did not disgrace himself. We're going to get the Rooney was the brains of the operation argument. Maybe he was, maybe he wasn't, but he won't be at Birmingham, so it's kind of a moot point now. We're also going to get the they've only hired him because he's a big name argument too. Again, this type of delirium will follow Rooney, Lampard, Gerrard and the gang, whatever they do. But it does always smack a little bit of reverse snobbery, I have to say. Managers should be chosen on their potential merit in the dugout. I don't care whether they've played for Man United and England or Biggleswade Town. The best case scenario for Rooney and Birmingham now is that he matches or betters what John Eustace did. Problem there is that Eustace has gone and left Birmingham in 6th position, and I'd say that was probably above expectations, even with that strong summer transfer window. The worst case scenario is a drop down the table, and a lot of that emotion that Rooney creates is going to be mixed with a bit of anger about the Eustace sacking and will be channeled into plenty of I told you so type vibes. I still think whatever happens this year will be too early for Birmingham to get into the top 6. I'd have said that for Eustace or for Rooney, although look, much depends on the January window and if it's as bold and busy as the summer was too, I guess. I think Rooney will be all right. I don't see it happening too quickly, but I think Birmingham can challenge in the long term if things develop as positively as they have so far under Knighthead's ownership, although this feels like a big moment for Birmingham, and not for the first time, Wayne Rooney is at the centre of the storm. That's my take on Wayne Rooney into Birmingham as their new boss. Let me know yours down there in the comments. And if we can avoid the big name derangement syndrome, hopefully we can have a decent debate about Rooney. How do you see him getting on? Would John Eustace have done any better or worse, do you think? If you haven't already seen it, you can click up here to see my take on the firing of John Eustace right after it happened and a little bit more detail on why that particular part of this situation played out in the way it did. Welcome back, Wayne.